What no one wants to tell you about success is you have to lose everything to find it. Over the past 6 years, I've started 3 different businesses and eventually shut them all down to go from being an entrepreneur to a salesman. I basically hit rock bottom, but that's the pivotal moment where everything started to change for me. Because since then, I've closed more than 18 million in sales. And along the way, I've discovered 20 lessons that turned me into a millionaire salesman. But these lessons aren't just about sales. See, I've been working around 8-figure CEOs, all were starting from nothing. So it doesn't matter if you're a sales professional, a founder, or a freelancer, there's value in these lessons for you. So let's start with lesson number 1. Have you ever been in a situation where you could feel the person pulling away from you? Like they could sense something is off about you? I vividly remember being on a call with a tech CEO while I was working on my 9 to 5. And being a closer wanting to take the leap from employee to entrepreneur, I was desperate. I was really pushing for the sale. Objection after objection, he was asking me dozens of questions and I kept circling back to, which car would you like to put this on? Let's get you started and all your questions will be answered later. And the result? I was reeking desperation. And that's why lesson number 1 is you need to project confidence. When you show up like someone who has already everything that they need, people start noticing and they start chasing you instead of the other way around. The energy completely shifts. You stop being a vendor and you start becoming a resource. Which brings us to lesson number 2. Some people can charge 10 times more for the exact service that you sell, and it's not because of quality. I was working with a client who kept losing deals to competitors. It was the same exact product, but the competitor was charging twice as much. The reason they were going with them, the salespeople were treating prospects as if they had no money, they were broke, or had a scarcity mindset. And in the meantime, they were talking to CEOs and entrepreneurs. So they didn't appreciate that at all. They are abundance mindset, growth-driven people. Because they weren't asking the right questions and didn't present the pitch properly, the prospects felt undervalued and they were choosing to go with the competitor. So what I learned is that you can't serve million-dollar clients as if they're pinching pennies. So lesson number 2 is learning to raise the standard of the people around you, because if you don't, you'll always hit a ceiling at their level. If you want to play in the bigger leagues, you need players who belong there. This means paying more for talent, raising the standard, and surrounding yourself with people who think bigger than you do. Your team's ceiling becomes your client's ceiling. Lesson number 3. What if I told you that the way people respond to you has less to do with what you tell them and more to do with how you look while saying it? I used to wonder why some of my calls used to go great, but some of them used to go horrible, even though I was just saying the exact same words. Then a mentor pointed out to me that when I was nervous, it was clear as day. What I discovered is that your facial expressions are actually the remote control for your face. When you control your face, you control your tonality. That's why lesson number 3 is to control your body to control your communication. So before every important call, check your posture, sit up, and make sure you're talking with a slight smile on your face. Because your face programs your voice and your voice programs your prospects. Lesson number 4. Most people think they have to believe in themselves before being confident. See, I spent years doing affirmations, visualizing success, and trying to think positively about closing bigger deals. One day, I realized that I was trying to think my way into a new identity instead of acting my way into one. What I learned is you can't just think like a high performer, you have to start behaving like one, even if you're not ready. So lesson number 4 is to focus on becoming the person that gets results, not start thinking about becoming one. Instead of hoping you'll close bigger deals, start acting like someone who only works with high-ticket clients. Change how you dress, how you speak, what you charge, and who you spend time with. When you act like a winner, you actually become one. Lesson number 5. Have you ever been in a situation where you're talking to someone who just refuses to respond back with more than a one-word response? So I was on a call once with a Fortune 500 CEO who was giving nothing but surface-level responses. Like to every single one of my questions, he was replying back with one-word answers. Instead of just pushing and probing for details, I just became curious. I was just asking him, "Oh, how do you mean? Can you give me an example how that looks like in your mind?" with a curious tonality. What I realized is that powerful people are used to being sold to and pitched instead. But what they're not used to is someone looking them straight in the face and asking hard but curious questions that create aha moments in their mind. So lesson number 5 is to use curiosity to bring other people's guard down. Stop trying to sound smart and to impress people and instead start acting curious. Ask questions like, I'm not 100% following, or can you give me an example here? When prospects feel like they're teaching instead of being sold to, that's when they open up. Lesson number 6. The worst moment in your life can actually be your biggest tool. 3 years into my career, I actually started an outbound agency. I was hiring people, I was paying for all the tools, and what do you know? That was the lowest income month I had ever. No money coming in, a lot of money coming out. I was forced to shut the agency down and sit on my ass for a full month. But that breakdown forced me to completely rethink my approach. What I realized is that I wasn't that good at lead generation, but I was great at taking these sales calls and closing the deals. What I discovered is that every breakdown can actually turn into a breakthrough if you're willing to learn from them. So lesson number 6 is to see breakdowns as the door to breakthroughs. When everything goes wrong, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Every master was once a disaster who refused to quit. Lesson number 7. People think with their ego before they think with logic. I was in a call with a startup founder once and he kept pushing back about my $50,000 fee, saying it was too expensive for a company my size. Instead of defending the price or offering a discount, I said, most companies in your stage can't afford to think strategically about this problem. They go with the cheapest possible solution and they hope it works out, and that's fine. Immediately, he said, no, we're not that type of company. We understand the value of investing in the right solution. And just like that, the deal closed. What I realized is people care more about what they think about themselves than what they think is right. Lesson number 7 is to use someone's identity instead of openly debating with them. Instead of fighting objections, reframe it around identity. You're not selling them a product, you're selling them a better version of themselves. Lesson number 8. Why do some people get treated with respect wherever they go, while others get treated like trash? Well, early in my career, I let prospects reschedule meetings last minute, take actual calls during our conversations, and generally act as if I was there for them. But then I started setting boundaries. And what I learned is you actually teach people how to treat you. So lesson number 8 is to raise your personal standards. When you accept disrespect, you tell people that you don't believe you deserve better. But when you demand respect, you show people you deserve it. High standards create high value. Lesson number 9. There's one question that can expose any problem in under 5 minutes. I was consulting with a company recently that claimed that their main problem was lead generation. After 30 minutes of going back and forth, we weren't getting anywhere. Then I asked them, if you had unlimited leads tomorrow, why couldn't you 10x your revenue? Suddenly, the real issues came out. Their sales process was broken, their pricing was way too low, and their product needed serious work. Lead generation was just the excuse. What I discovered is that when you ask why something can't be fixed, that's when the real problem emerges. Lesson number 9 is to ask yourself why before coming to a conclusion. Stop accepting surface level answers and explanations, because the real bottlenecks are found in the uncomfortable conversations. Lesson number 10. Rejection is actually feedback in disguise. Not too long ago, I was selling an offer and they gave us a new script, and that new script led to endless rejection. There was no after no after no, and I had no idea why that kept happening. Then I go back and I reviewed some footage of actual sales calls, and what did I notice? And every time I asked this one specific question, the prospect's energy shifted. And even though I didn't know at the time, reviewing that rejection and footage was all the evidence I needed to take it off the script. And what do you know? Deals started closing all over again. And by the way, that question was, why now and why me? And that created immense resistance in the prospect's mind. So lesson number 10 is to extract intelligence out of rejection instead of taking it personally. After every rejection, take self-accountability and ask yourself, what part did I play in pushing the prospect away? Treat rejection like market research for your next level. Now, if you want to know the 20 lessons I wish I knew in my 20s, watch this video right here and I'll see you there.